4 months ago, I watched my stepmother donate my dead mother's entire legacy to charity, while my father stood there and sneered. She's my wife now. Your mother's junk had to go. I just smiled and left. Last month, I walked into their celebration with the gift box that made both of them go white as ghosts. But to understand why, you need to know how we got here. My name is Sloan Carter, and I'm 28 years old. My mother, Vivienne, died when I was 18. Brain aneurysm. One moment, she was laughing at the dinner table, telling a story about her day at the museum where she worked as a curator. The next moment, she was gone. Just like that. No warning, no goodbye, no chance to say, I love you one last time. My father, Harrison, fell apart. I watched this strong, successful man, a corporate lawyer who commanded courtrooms, become a shell. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped being my dad. I was drowning in my own grief, but I had to be strong for both of us. For 6 months, we survived together. Barely. The house felt like a mausoleum. Mom's things stayed exactly where she left them. Her reading glasses on the nightstand, her coffee mug in the kitchen cabinet, her collection of vintage brooches displayed in the china cabinet. I couldn't touch them, neither could Dad. They were all we had left of her. Then he met Celestine. Celestine Ashford was everything my mother wasn't. Mom was warm, intellectual, quietly elegant. She collected art and antiques, read poetry, volunteered at literacy programs. She was the kind of woman who made everyone around her feel seen. Celestine was cold, flashy, and calculating, 20 years younger than my father, a social media influencer who documented every moment of her life for strangers online. They met at some charity gala. Ironic, given what would happen later, and within 3 months, Dad announced they were engaged. I was 19, still in college, still grieving. Sloan, he said, sitting me down in our living room, Mom's living room, with Mom's furniture, surrounded by Mom's things. I know this is hard, but your mother would want me to be happy. She'd want us both to move forward. I wanted to scream that Mom had been dead for less than 1 year, that moving forward didn't mean erasing her so soon, that this woman he barely knew couldn't just slide into the space Mom left behind. But I didn't, because I could see something in Dad's eyes I hadn't seen since Mom died. Life. So I swallowed my pain and said, if she makes you happy, then I'm happy for you. I was lying, but I loved my father, and I thought, naively, that maybe this was what healing looked like. I had no idea I was watching him replace my mother, not honor her. The wedding was small, tasteful even. I stood as Dad's witness, wore a smile that hurt my face, and tried not to think about how Mom should have been there. Celestine moved into our house immediately. Our house, the house my parents bought together, the house where Mom had planted roses in the garden, the house where every corner held a memory. At first, Celestine was careful. She'd make comments here and there. Harrison, don't you think this room feels a bit dated? These curtains are so heavy. We should brighten things up. Dad would hesitate, glance at me, then change the subject. But gradually, things started to shift. Mom's roses were replaced with modern landscaping. Low maintenance, Celestine said. The curtains came down, new ones went up. The furniture started to change. We need to make this house ours, not a shrine. Celestine told Dad, and he nodded. I was living in my own apartment by then, finishing my graduate degree in art history, following in Mom's footsteps. But I'd visit every Sunday for dinner, and each time I'd notice something else missing. Mom's favorite painting from the hallway, the throw pillows she'd needle-pointed, the vintage clock from the mantel. "Where did it go?" I'd ask. "Oh, we donated it," Celestine would say breezily. "Goodwill can always use nice things." Donated. My mother's belongings. Things she'd touched, loved, chosen carefully. Given away? To strangers? I started taking photos every time I visited, documenting what was left. Some instinct told me I needed evidence of what was disappearing. The breaking point came 4 months ago. I showed up for Sunday dinner and immediately felt wrong. The house was too empty, too bare. Celestine met me at the door, perfectly made up, phone in hand as always. "Oh good, you're here. Come see what we did. I've been documenting the whole process for my followers. They're going to love this transformation story." She let me into the living room. It was empty. Not redecorated, empty. The antique sideboard Mom inherited from her grandmother, gone. The Art Deco lamp Mom found at an estate sale and restored herself, gone. The shelves that held Mom's book collection, including first editions she'd spent years collecting, completely bare. The china cabinet that held 3 generations of family heirlooms, empty. I couldn't breathe. "What did you do?" My voice came out as a whisper. "We did a total reset," Celestine gestured grandly, filming herself with her phone. "The energy in here was so heavy, so stuck in the past. Harrison and I decided it was time to cleanse the space. Everything old had to go to make room for the new." "Where is it? Where's my mother's things?" "Oh, we had a charity come pick it up yesterday. Estate Treasures. They do auctions for charity. Isn't that wonderful? Your mother's old stuff will actually help people now." The room spun. You gave away my mother's collection? Her heirlooms? Her books? They were just things, Sloan. Celestine rolled her eyes, still filming. "Material possessions don't matter. What matters is living in the present." That's when Dad walked in. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. "Dad, tell me you didn't let her do this. Tell me Mom's things are somewhere safe." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Sloan, your mother has been gone for over 1 year, almost 2 years. This house needs to be mine and Celestine's home now, not a museum to the past." A museum? I could barely get the words out. Those were her treasures, things she loved, things she wanted to pass down to me, things that had been in our family for generations. They were junk. His voice was cold, dismissive. Old, dusty junk taking up space. I stared at this man who used to be my father. "Your mother is gone, Sloan. She's not coming back. And frankly, I'm tired of living in her shadow. Celestine is my wife now. Your mother's junk had to go." The words hit me like a physical blow. Celestine was smirking, phone still recording, probably thrilled to capture this authentic emotional moment for her followers. And my father, the man who'd sobbed at Mom's funeral, who'd kept her coffee mug unwashed for months because it still smelled like her, who told me Mom was the love of his life, stood there sneering at her memory. Something inside me went very, very cold. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile you give someone when you've just made a decision they're going to regret. I walked out. I didn't slam the door, didn't yell, didn't cry until I was in my car. But as I drove away, I was already making a plan. Oh, What my father knew but had apparently forgotten in his hurry to erase my mother was what those old dusty things actually were. My mother wasn't just a museum curator. She was one of the foremost experts in American decorative arts. She had an eye for value, for history, for pieces that mattered. That junk Celestine donated, it included a Tiffany lamp worth $40,000, an Art Deco sideboard by Emile Jacques Rouman worth $65,000, a collection of first edition books, including a signed F. Scott Fitzgerald worth over $100,000 combined, and the jewelry. God, the jewelry. My mother's engagement ring from my grandmother, vintage Cartier pieces, Art Nouveau brooches, easily $200,000 worth. I knew because Mom had everything appraised and documented. She'd kept meticulous records, knowing she wanted to pass it all down to me someday. Those records were in a safety deposit box in my name, along with her will. The will Dad apparently never bothered to read. The will that specifically left her entire collection to me. Not to him. To me. Which meant Dad and Celestine had just donated my inheritance without my permission. That was theft. But more than that, it gave me leverage. I spent the next 2 months doing my homework, and what I found would change everything. But first, if stories of quiet revenge and family justice are your thing, you need to subscribe to this channel, Nestor Tales. We share real stories of people who refused to be walked over and the clever ways they fought back. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss what happens when someone underestimates the wrong person. Here's what neither of them knew. First, I contacted estate treasurers, explained the situation, showed them my mother's will, the appraisals, and proof that I was the legal heir. The woman I spoke to was horrified. "Miss Carter, I'm so sorry. We had no idea these items were donated without the rightful owner's consent. Unfortunately, several pieces have already been sold at auction." My heart sunk. Several? Not all? About 60%. The jewelry and some of the furniture. But we still have roughly 40% in our warehouse scheduled for next month's auction. We can pull those items immediately and return them to you. It was something, but 40% wasn't enough. Who bought the other pieces? Can you tell me? I can't share buyer information directly, but Miss Carter, between you and me, you have a strong case for recovery. What happened here is legally actionable. You should speak to an attorney. I already had one in mind. My godmother's husband, Marcus Chen, was one of the best estate attorneys in the state. He'd been at my mother's funeral, had known our family for decades, and when I called him, he was livid. They did what? His voice could have cut glass. "Sloan, this is clear-cut conversion of assets, possibly fraud. Your father, as executor of your mother's estate, had a legal obligation to distribute her property according to her will. Instead, he gave away your inheritance without your consent. What can we do?" We can do a lot. First, we send a demand letter. Then, if necessary, we file a lawsuit. We can potentially recover the monetary value of everything that's been sold, force the return of what hasn't been sold, and he paused. "Sloan, this is going to be ugly. Your father is going to be very, very exposed. Are you sure you want to go there?" I thought about Mom, about her carefully curated collection, each piece chosen with love and intention, about her will, where she'd written in her own hand, To my daughter Sloan, who shares my love of beautiful things and understands their stories, may these pieces bring you joy and remind you that beauty and history matter. I thought about Dad sneering and calling it junk. I'm sure, I said. Do it. Marcus moved fast. The demand letter went out 2 weeks later, detailing the value of Mom's collection, the violation of her will, and the legal consequences Dad and Celestine were facing. We also did something clever. We reached out to several of the auction buyers, wealthy collectors who'd purchased items from estate treasures. When we explained the situation and showed them proof that the items had been stolen property donated without the heir's consent, most of them were appalled. Turns out, the kind of people who collect expensive antiques really don't like the idea of owning stolen goods. It damages their reputation. 6 of them voluntarily returned items and demanded refunds from estate treasures. Estate treasures, in turn, was threatening to sue my father for fraud. The walls were closing in. But I wasn't done, because I'd noticed something interesting about Celestine's social media. She documented everything. Every room she'd cleansed, every donation she'd made, every piece of old junk she'd gleefully gotten rid of. She'd literally filmed herself committing theft and posted it online, including the moment in the living room where Dad had said, "Your mother's junk had to go." That video, saved, downloaded, backed up in 3 different places, because I knew I'd need it. Dad called me 2 days after receiving the demand letter. "Sloan, what the hell is this? You're suing me? Your own father?" "You stole my inheritance and gave it away. What did you expect?" "Those were my things to do with as I pleased." "No, Dad, they weren't. Mom's will left everything to me. You never had the right to touch any of it. You know this. You just didn't care." Silence. "How much do you want?" His voice was tight. "I want what's mine. Every piece, every dollar it's worth. And I want you to understand what you did." "Sloan, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. Marcus is being reasonable. You're lucky we haven't filed criminal charges yet." "Criminal? You wouldn't." "Try me." More silence. "There's no way I can get all of it back. Some of it's gone. You know that." "Then you'll pay the monetary value. Marcus is preparing the full accounting now. Fair market value, plus appreciation, plus my legal fees." I could practically hear him calculating. "That's going to be close to $600,000. $647,000, actually, plus whatever we recover in additional items." He made a choking sound. "I don't have that kind of liquid cash." "Then you'll figure it out. Sell something, take out a loan. I honestly don't care. But Dad, I let the word hang in the air. You're going to pay. One way or another." I hung up. Their 1-year marriage anniversary party was 3 days away. Celestine had been promoting it for weeks on social media. Hashtag anniversary bash, hashtag 1 year of love, hashtag blessed life. She'd rented out a private room at an upscale restaurant, invited 50 of their closest friends, hired a photographer, the whole production. The party that would celebrate their life together. The life they'd built by erasing my mother. I got the invitation. Celestine had actually sent me one, probably thinking it would look good on social media to appear magnanimous. I RSVP'd yes. And I prepared a gift. The night of the party, I dressed carefully. Black dress, simple, elegant. The kind of thing Mom would have worn. I wore her pearls, the ones I'd saved from my own jewelry box years ago, before they could be donated. The ones Dad gave her on their 10th anniversary. I walked into that restaurant with the gift box wrapped in silver paper with a white ribbon. The room felt quiet when I entered. Dad saw me first. His face went from surprise to something like dread. Celestine was already filming, of course, panning her phone around the room to capture all her amazing friends and beautiful decorations. "Sloan!" she called out, fake warmth dripping from her voice. "How wonderful! Harrison, look, your daughter came after all." I walked through the crowd until I stood in front of them. 50 people watching. Celestine still filming. "Happy anniversary," I said, my voice carrying in the sudden silence. I held out the gift box. Dad didn't move. His face had gone pale. "Oh, how sweet!" Celestine grabbed the box, beaming at her phone. "Everyone, look, Sloan brought us a gift. Let me open it for my followers." "Actually," I said loudly, "I think everyone here should see this. It's really meant for the whole room." Celestine's smile faltered, but she was too committed to her performance. She opened the box. Inside were papers, legal documents. She pulled out the first page, started reading, and the color drained from her face. "What?" She looked at Dad. "What is this?" "That," I said clearly, making sure everyone could hear, "is a lawsuit filed this morning against both of you." The room erupted in whispers. Dad was frozen, staring at the papers. I continued, my voice steady and cold. "3 months ago, you donated my mother's entire estate to charity. Her collection of antiques, jewelry, and books, worth over $600,000. You told me it was junk. You told me to move on." Celestine's phone was still recording. She hadn't lowered it. "Good. What you both forgot, or didn't care to remember, is that my mother's will left everything to me. Not to you, Dad. To me. Which means you stole my inheritance and gave it away." Gasps from the crowd. The lawsuit details everything, the value of each item, the video evidence. Thank you, Celestine, for documenting your theft so thoroughly on Instagram. The testimony from estate treasures, the proof that you, Dad, as executor of Mom's estate, violated your fiduciary duty. Dad finally found his voice. "Sloan, not here." "Why not here? You didn't mind erasing Mom in front of me. Why should I mind exposing what you did in front of your friends?" I turned to address the room. My mother, Vivian Carter, was an art curator. She spent her life collecting beautiful things, not because they were expensive, but because they had stories, history, meaning. She left them to me in her will because she knew I understood that. My voice cracked, just slightly. And my father, the man who promised to love and honor her until death, joined his new wife to call my mother's legacy junk and donated it to a tax write-off and social media content. Silence. Complete, crushing silence. The second page in that box is a detailed accounting of what you owe me. $647,000, plus legal fees, plus the value of any emotional distress the court decides to award. Celestine was shaking. This is ridiculous. We donated things to charity. That's not theft. It is when you don't own them. It is when they were left to someone else in a legally binding will. It is when you documented yourself committing the theft and posted it online. I looked at my dad. Really looked at him. Mom loved you. She thought you were the love of her life. She trusted you to honor her wishes after she was gone. And you? I had to stop. Breathe. You called her treasures junk. Tears were running down my face now, but I didn't wipe them away. So yes, happy anniversary. Enjoy your party, because the lawsuit is filed, the court date is set, and every single person in this room is now a witness to your reaction. I turned to leave. Dad grabbed my arm. Sloan, wait, please, we can talk about this. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then at his face. You had the whole year to talk to me, to include me, to ask what I wanted. You chose not to. You chose her. You chose to erase Mom. I pulled my arm free. The lawsuit speaks for me now. Your lawyer can contact Marcus Chen with any questions. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high and my mother's pearls around my neck. Behind me, I heard someone say, "Did she really just serve them with a lawsuit at their anniversary party?" Yes, I did. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The video Celestine had been filming, she'd streamed it live to her Instagram. 40,000 followers watched me serve my father and stepmother with a lawsuit at their anniversary party. By morning, it had been screen recorded and shared across multiple platforms. The comments were not kind to them. Imagine being so vapid you donate someone's inheritance for content. The daughter showing up in her dead mother's pearls? Iconic! That lawyer is gonna eat them alive in court. Celestine's follower count tanked. Brands started dropping sponsorships. Her carefully curated influencer career imploded. Dad was worse off. As a lawyer himself, he understood exactly how bad this looked. His firm's ethics board opened an investigation because stealing your dead wife's estate from your daughter while acting as executor is exactly the kind of thing that gets you disbarred. Marcus wasn't bluffing about criminal charges either. The DA's office started looking into potential fraud charges when they saw the evidence. But the real damage, that came from their friends. The 50 people at that party, they talked. They told everyone they knew about what happened. Dad and Celestine became social pariahs overnight. 2 weeks later, Marcus called me. They want to settle. For how much? Full amount, $647,000, plus your legal fees, plus the items estate treasurer still has in their warehouse returned immediately, plus a written apology from your father acknowledging he violated your mother's will. I closed my eyes. And the criminal charges. If you accept the settlement and sign a non-prosecution agreement, the DA won't pursue it. But Sloan, you don't have to agree to that. We have a strong case. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Did I want to see my father in prison? No. Did I want him to understand, truly understand what he'd done? Yes. I'll accept the settlement on one condition. Dad has to say it out loud, on video, that he was wrong, that Mom's things mattered, that he stole from me, and he's sorry. I'll tell them. 3 days later, I met Dad at Marcus's office. Celestine wasn't there. Apparently, she'd moved back to her parents' house. The marriage was already falling apart. Dad looked 10 years older. His hair had gone grayer. His face was drawn. We sat across from each other at a conference table, Marcus and Dad's attorney between us. The settlement papers were signed first. Account transfers arranged. The items returned cataloged. Then came the video. Dad looked at the camera, looked at me. "Sloan," his voice broke. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Your mother's collection wasn't junk. It was beautiful and meaningful, and it should have gone to you. I violated her trust. I violated your trust. I let grief and selfishness turn me into someone your mother wouldn't recognize. Someone I don't recognize either." Tears were running down his face now. "I know sorry isn't enough. I know I can't undo what I did, but you're right about all of it. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the father I should have been, the father your mother thought I was." The camera stopped. I sat there watching this broken man who used to be my dad. "I don't forgive you," I said quietly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I accept your apology." I stood up. "The money goes into a trust for preserving Mom's legacy. I'm going to use it to fund a scholarship in her name at her alma mater for students studying art history and museum curation, students who understand that beautiful things matter, that history matters, that we honor the people we love by protecting what they loved." I walked to the door, then stopped. "And Dad, next time you meet someone, make sure they understand that your first wife wasn't junk you needed to throw away. She was a woman who deserved better than to be erased." The Vivian Carter Memorial Scholarship is now fully funded. The first recipient starts this fall, a young woman who wants to be a museum curator, just like Mom. The items that were returned are in a climate-controlled storage unit. I visit them sometimes, touch the things Mom touched, remember her. Some of the pieces that were sold are still out there, but Marcus is working on tracking them down. Every new week, we get another one back. Dad and I don't talk much. He sends emails sometimes, updates on his therapy, asking how I am. I usually don't respond. Celestine deleted all her social media and moved to another state. I heard she's trying to rebrand herself, but the internet never forgets. As for me, I'm working on my dissertation. I'm going to be Dr. Sloan Carter-Sohn, specializing in American decorative arts of the early 20th century, just like Mom. And when people ask about my research, I tell them about her eye for beauty, her respect for history, her understanding that objects are never just objects, they're stories waiting to be told. I tell them my mother's story, because that's the thing about legacies. You can try to throw them away, donate them, erase them. But real legacies, the ones built on love and respect and meaning, those can't be destroyed. They live on, in the people who remember, in the stories we tell, in the scholarships that bear their names. My father tried to erase my mother. Instead, I made sure she'll never be forgotten. And that's a much better anniversary gift than anything they got that night. For everyone who's had to fight to protect the loved one's memory. For everyone whose legacy was dismissed as junk. For everyone who knows that some things are worth fighting for, even when the people who should protect them won't. Your mother's pearls, your grandmother's china, your father's books, they're not junk. their love made tangible, and they deserve to be honored.